Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Louise Robbins, and I would like to introduce Christian Albouras, running for Alder from District 20. As we begin, please tell our viewers a bit about how your educational, vocational, and civic experience has prepared you for the position and why you decided to run for Alder.
Well, Louise, thank you very much for your time in facilitating this conversation. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you to the Madison City Channel staff, as well as the League of Women Voters. In terms of my formal education, I was very fortunate to attend one of the UW institutions, UW-Whitewater, where I received my bachelor's in business administration, and then went on to go to grad school where I was a fellow in the Advanced Opportunity Program, where I received my master's of business administration. My wife and I and our family, very blessed homeowners in the Meadowood neighborhood within District 20. My wife's parents actually built their home in the late 80s within Meadowood. They were the first family to actually build their home in the cul-de-sac in which they live in. And so it's very nice that we still have them at a short distance. My wife grew up in the district, obviously, with her parents and her older brother. She actually attended Higo Elementary, where our daughter currently goes now. So it's nice during parent-teacher conference, we go in there and we get to see some of the same educators that impacted her learning experience, impacting our daughters as well. And just a quick funny story, this morning we dropped her off, and the substitute teacher that was teaching her class today was actually my wife's third grade teacher. I've been a part of the Meadowood Neighborhood Association and serving on the board, and have been able to create organic relationships with many of the neighbors within Meadowood in that capacity, within Green Tree, as well as Prairie Hills neighborhood as well. Served on the Madison Police Department Policy and Procedure Review Ad Hoc Committee, and through that experience learned how important city committees are in shaping public policy on complex issues, which was one of the reasons that it drove me to actually want to run, is to be a part of the larger conversation and decision-making process on the council. I've also been fortunate to serve on the Dane County Cultural Affairs and Arts Commission and a board member of the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Dane County, where we support local entrepreneurship and continue to make our region thriving with economic development. So I plan to take all these experiences at the neighborhood level, the city level, and the county level, and serve the District 20 residents very well through that.
Madison's efforts to address chronic homelessness have appeared to fall short, especially with regard to providing sufficient support systems for a housing first approach. What ideas do you have that might create greater success for projects such as the one at Tree Lane?
Yeah, great question. As you mentioned, it's very important that we provide stable housing for individuals, to provide stability throughout their, just to give them general stability within their life. And I think that projects like Tree Lane do show that it's very important that we make investments like that, but we need to make sure that when we make those investments that we're allowing the local neighborhoods to be a part of that process, ensuring that we're providing sort of the wraparound services and programming that individuals may need when they get into those housing units, whether it be transportation, employment services, childcare services, et cetera, making sure that when we're making that investment, that we're being very mindful of the potential programming and resources that may need to actually go into that to help those projects be more successful.
The Madison Police Department has been faulted for not having appropriate policies and training around de-escalation and use of force, especially with regard to people of color. What is your perspective on whether any changes are needed in ways Madison police operate in our community?
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing up that question. I first just want to take an opportunity to thank the law enforcement professionals that we have within the city. They have a very tough job, and their job is to protect and serve, and so I want to thank them for their efforts and the sacrifice that they do within that role. However, I do know that the ad hoc committee at this time is making recommendations, and some of the recommendations that we're making are to, how can the police do their job in an enhanced effort that brings de-escalation tactics, providing, doing more to enhance community relations with the public. Other things are, how do they approach, building on how they approach, mental health crisis situations to ensure that those situations have good outcomes and those folks are able to get the help that they need from those interactions. And so, yeah, thank you.
There is a perception that Madison's story is a tale of two cities, one in which people of color are less likely to experience success. What can be done to ensure that Madison is a community in which all people can thrive?
Yeah, great question. I think that the Race to Equity report showed the fact that there's disparity gaps, achievement gaps, health equity gaps, all across the city. And so I think it's incumbent upon city leadership to make tough decisions moving forward to bridge those gaps, because we don't want to be a tale of two cities. And the folks that I'm talking to within District 20, and just the general, Madison in general, I feel as if though doesn't want to have that tale of two cities be what defines them. And so how can we do a better job of ensuring that the folks who do have these gaps, how are we better engaging them through employment opportunities, workforce training, utilizing programs that are out there like Big Step, and helping folks who are living in poverty to give them those job opportunities within the trades. So I plan to, if elected, to build coalitions with the county, build coalitions with the private sector, build coalitions with other members of the Common Council to address this very needed issue and move the needle forward to help those sort of equity gaps that we have to be diminished, and hopefully that will be a thing of the past, and that we will do a better job at that.
What issue have you identified as being of primary concern to the residents of your district, and how would you approach tackling it?
Yeah, great question. As I've been knocking on doors and meeting the neighbors and residents within District 20, there's been, a number of issues that have come to the top, but one of the main ones that, residents have shared concern and frustration about is public safety as it pertains to home break-ins that have happened within the area, cars being stolen, and things of that nature, and that they feel as if though at times the neighborhood isn't the same that it used to be. And so what can we do to make the neighborhood safer, to promote safe neighborhoods, is going to be really, really important for that next Alder in District 20. And my approach is going to be working hand in hand with local law enforcement to ensure that they have the resources and tools that they need to do their job to promote safe neighborhoods. And that can look like a number of different things. Maybe it looks like hiring more officers, maybe it's enhanced training, maybe it's new initiatives. But it's also important that that new Alder understands that law enforcement and the criminal justice system isn't the only answer for that. We need to move beyond just that. It's an important aspect of addressing this public safety need that we have within District 20, but also looking at the other side of the equation and ensuring that we're addressing some of those root causes, whether it's poverty or unemployment, as well as ensuring that we're building, again, that police and community relation to enhance that communication, as we know that can actually promote public safety as well.
The relationship between the council and the mayor appears at times contentious. Is this a problem, and if so, how would you improve the relationship?
Yeah, great question. I think it's important that as we're, the council has a number of big issues that it has to, solve, and it has to, come to consensus on. And so with my candidacy, I plan to bridge any sort of, divisions that may be there. So my candidacy will be to work with all those alders and work with whoever that mayor may be to ensure that we're working hard together for these complex problems and issues, ensuring that we're building consensus and that we're not letting some of those other divisions that may be in play impeding us to move forward and progressing as a city.
What changes, if any, should be made in how the city approaches major projects such as Judge Doyle Square and the public market?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad that that project seems to be, the city sort of took back the scope of what they're going to do. So what I'm hoping is that we find a developer that will be able to get that job done and sort of increase the tax base from that project, help sort of improve the downtown setting from that. And I just think it's important that we go into those relationships with those developers as transparent as possible, and ensuring that those projects get done when we get those commitments.
What council committees do you want to serve on, and why?
Yeah, great question. The one committee that comes to mind right away is the Education Committee. I feel that this committee is really, really important. There's a lot of key stakeholders at the table within that committee. Members of there's a representative from the Common Council, the school board, the MPD, as well as folks from the superintendent's office. And so I would like to see a rejuvenation of that committee. I would love to come in and have synergy with all those key stakeholders that are at the table, because each of us plays a big role in moving our city forward. So the Education Committee is one where I think that I can play a key role, and I would love to be appointed to that one, or put on that committee, I should say.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
Yeah, well, again, thank you so much for hosting this forum. What I'd like to say to the viewers is that with my candidacy, you're going to get a candidate who's engaged, who's been engaged at the neighborhood level, who's been engaged at the city level, and who's been engaged at the county level, and has taken action-oriented approach to some complex issues that we've had in the past, and plan to do that moving forward. You also get somebody who's a bridge builder and a consensus builder that looks to create ties and create strong relationships with other members of the Common Council, with members of the district, and key city stakeholders and leaders, as that's what's going to need. That's what we're going to need from city leadership moving forward as we face some of these big issues, not only facing District 20 but the city as well. And I also think it's important that an Alder is a good listener, and so that's something that I'll bring to the table. No one person has all the answers, so it's important that we listen to many different viewpoints and many different perspectives as we go into making decisions. So that's what I plan to bring to the table, and thank you very much for your time today.
I want to thank Christian Albouras for speaking with us, and the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. Please vote in this and every election. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.